Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back. So today I'm going to do a little bit of a special episode. I'm not going to be reading from Seven Habits, but I am going to be doing something a little bit different. Something that I've been pondering over the past 2 days, or actually the past 24, 36 hours, and the impact it's had on my paradigms. So we've been talking about the character ethic and paradigms and a principle-centered paradigm, and why it works and why it's so important and the benefits you can get from shifting your paradigms. There's this idea that I recently learned from a buddy of mine about the difference between living out of our imagination and living out of our memory. So many times when we create a goal, or whether it's audacious or not, this goal or achievement that we're wanting to do, there are two ways to go about accomplishing that goal, or even setting it in the first place. The first one is, again, memory, and the second one is imagination. So memory is based obviously in memories, in past experiences. It's based off of what you've done in the past. It's based off of current limitations, off of current restrictions. And when you set a goal like this, what ends up happening is it doesn't create any emotion inside of you. Or maybe for a little bit, but it's super short term. It's not enough to actually last and to push you through the hard things. Whereas setting a goal out of your imagination is something completely different, to where it's no restrictions, no limitations. If you could have anything, what would you have, right? And it should almost be 20 to 30% higher than what you actually think you're capable of doing. And so it creates this gap, or this fall in your mind where you're oh, fetch, I'm actually not where I should be in order to achieve that. I actually don't believe I can do that, so I have work to do. And that creates excitement in us as human beings. It should be something that you're well, yeah, I don't think I can actually do that, but what if I could? How would that look like? What if I actually could do that? Is it even but what if? Well, what if I could? And then you start theorizing. So first you dream up the goal or the audacious thing that you want, and then you're going to go in and be okay, well, you're theorize over it. Well, if I want that, then it's very disorganized theory of if I were to do that, then I'd probably have to do this or this or this or this. So for example, with my job, I do summer sales, and so let's say in the past I had serviced 300 accounts, right? And then my next summer I was okay, well, let's do 500 accounts. That's 200 more than my last summer. It's a pretty good increase. That could be basing it in memory. But imagination might be okay, well, independent of what I did last summer, independent of the 300 accounts, if I could have anything I wanted, how many accounts, how many would I actually want to do? And so that it might be 500, maybe it is. And that's awesome. Maybe it's 600, maybe it's 400. Who knows? But it's not basing that goal off of past experience or past conditioning or past limiting beliefs. It's shoving all that aside and saying, I am a creator of my circumstances and I know who I am. And so therefore, if I could have anything, what would I have? And so shifting that paradigm to a more imaginative paradigm rather than a memory paradigm. And when you do it with the imagination, it creates a ton of emotion, of passion and excitement, and like this could actually be like really, really cool. And I promise if you do that, you'll crush your records. You will surpass your goal and absolutely destroy any limiting beliefs. It will happen. And so that's like the really cool thing about what this whole idea is based off of, is the ability to just do way more than you think you're actually capable of doing. For example, with like ice baths. This week I broke some records doing this, where my longest time in the river was 2 minutes. And I broke that. I did 3:30 one day. And I was, like, that was really cool. Like I beat it by like a minute 30. Like that's like really cool. And then the next day I was like, well, like what if I could actually do more? Like what would that actually like look like? And so what I did there was I just set a goal like imagination like 10 minutes. So I was like, okay, like why not? Like what's to stop me, right? 10 minutes. Well, so what ended up happening was I set this goal for 10 minutes, and then I got to 7 minutes and hopped out. And that was because it was double my 3:30. And so my response in the river as I was in there, I defaulted to memory. And so I'm satisfied and content to 7 because it's double of what I did in the past. Whereas 10 was like very independent of what I've done in the past. And so had I kept going, I would have like lived that out in imagination. And so I started with imagination, but then I almost also defaulted to memory in the moment when I should have just kept going with imagination. And so it helps you to like question your assumptions, because as soon as you like realize that you have that fall in your mind, or like create that gap like where you are now and where you should be in order to achieve that goal, you all of a sudden have to start questioning your assumptions, right? So like maybe with the ice bath example, maybe I should do a breathing technique, or like a guided exercise, something to distract my mind from the cold, or like have a conversation with a buddy, or have him hopping with me, or like who knows, like maybe I need to get warm before or get cold before to acclimate myself, like who knows, right? But it's questioning those assumptions, questioning things like, I don't know, like maybe for example, if you want to get to a certain body fat percentage or muscle percentage or whatever, you like, okay, like what types of workouts should I do? How many sets? How many reps? What days should I do that? Like what foods do I eat? And like why those foods, right? Like are they brain foods? Or are they better for like carbs, like for the heart? Just like questioning these assumptions. How much sleep should you get, right? And so it's a very powerful principle of the difference between memory and imagination in goal setting. And if you do it in imagination, there will be a ton of emotion there, and you'll be way more likely to achieve that goal. So that was kind of this special episode today. It relates to 7 habits because it's shifting your paradigm of how to do goal setting. And then as you do that, you increase in your character. Now, personality, I think, is going to say there's like no shortcut, right? Or personality, I think, is going to want a shortcut. Whereas character, I think, is going to say, no, like I need to put in the work and apply myself to principles in order to work. And that creates a principle-centered paradigm. And then once you have done like what it takes, and once you've pondered, let me back up. When you set an audacious goal through imagination, and then you reflect on that goal and ponder on it, you are in essence educating your conscience. And what that means is you are asking yourself, what principles do I need to apply or harmonize myself with in order to achieve said goal? And your conscience will automatically tell you those things, or at least the next step. And so as you follow those principles, you will start developing paradigms which then flow behaviors and attitudes and actions. So you have your purpose, educate your conscious to find the principles that you should harmonize yourself with, and then out of those principles will flow paradigms, behaviors, and attitudes. And those are things that you should do. As you go about that process and you do those behaviors and attitudes, you increase in character. You gain trust in yourself as you make and keep those commitments. As you do that and you gain trust in yourself and confidence in yourself, then all of a sudden, your faith becomes knowledge. Because you know what it takes to achieve your goal, and you know that you also have the character to achieve that. And that you actually will. Because you trust yourself, because you're doing it, because you're making and keeping the right commitments that your conscience told you based off of your purpose or your audacious goal that was set out of imagination. Pretty wild stuff. Guys, this stuff works. I promise you're going to love it. Give it a shot. Try it out. And believe me, if this is even half as good as what I'm saying, you're going to absolutely love it. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. This is my video for today. So see you on the next episode.